Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. It is November 5th, 2025. We are located at the county building on the third floor in the council chambers. As far as roll call, we have our county attorney, Scott Broadhead, present. We have, as far as council, we have Councilman Thomas, Councilman Stromer, Councilman Hamner, Councilman Wardle. Councilman Hoffman is on his way. We have our county manager, Andy Welch, and assistant county manager, Brittany Lopez. Have Nikki that's taking notes for the clerk's office, and thank you each for being here and taking some time with us. This is something that we have discussed to be able to go over and be public with our constituents and with each other. And thank you for taking time to do that. If I can find it here. Maybe I don't have it. Moment. So let me I wrote down a few things so everyone be able to know. Purpose of the work meeting is to review and discuss department budget request. So on behalf of the county council, thank you again for being here. I want to begin to recognize the outstanding work of the county auditor's office. You're usually right here. He switched on me. Thank you for the hard work that you've done for getting everything together, for preparing the annual tentative budget document that reflects a careful analyzing and the stewardship of the long hours that it takes to do that, put that together. Appreciate the professionalism that you've done that in. I also want to thank every department head and team for the discipline in putting this together and the cooperation and showing throughout the process. Your submission, justifications, and performances, insight, strengths show to the outside what we have for the tentative budget and demonstrates a shared commitment to serving our residents. So thank you for that. As we shift from the department level to the policy level, the council has asked that the county manager take the auditor's detailed work and zoom out to evaluate the big picture across all the funds. We've requested and consolidate the view, highlights county outline or county-wide impacts, how requests align, and priorities, how they affect the funds, balances, and capital plans, what's ongoing versus one-time impacts on service levels and workforce, any potential tax or fee implications. This ensures that to understand cross-funding, trade-offs, and avoids solving one-time problems by creating another and maintain long-term sustainability alongside the near-term needs. During tonight's discussion, council members will ask questions. It is perfectly fine if you don't have immediate answers. Please let us know and follow up with the information as soon as you can. Our goal is to clearly and accurately and be transparent in our record and chat with anyone offline if you'd like. With the tentative budget as our foundation, the county manager's analysis as our guide, we look forward to a constructive and balanced review and leading into the final budget. So thank you again. With that said, okay. Yep, I have down here.
Thank you, Council, for allowing us to come and present this. We'll kind of be jumping back and forth between some presentations that we asked some to provide and others have provided as well, and so we look forward to providing some of that. But we can jump back and forth between that and the spreadsheet that has been shared. And so I'll start off with just a couple of the kind of the highlights. We're looking big picture right now. Here are some of the requests that we received through the budget. The assessor had 4 positions, the recorder had a couple, the jail a couple, the sheriff a couple as well. Then we had one which was added a little bit late from the roads department with some discussion that we've had with our roads director. There's one in solid waste, and then there was one in human services. And we'll let each of those departments come up and explain what they're asking for as they come. I just wanted to give you the big picture. These are new full-time positions. And then we have some that are partials, that are current positions that are being asked to add FTE to the current position. There's a couple in the Parks and Recreation. The auditor had one that's currently a .49. This would be to raise that up to full-time. CJC had one from a .5 to .75, and then there were a couple in the aging as well. I'm going to switch now over to the spreadsheet that I shared with you, and hopefully this is not too small. But just this is kind of these are the highlights, and we've discussed this before. The COLA, we're looking at a 3.25 COLA. The merit up to 2%. We anticipate it being about 1.25 based on what happened last year with the evaluations. So that's just kind of a highlight there. Here are the new positions. This one adds some dollars into those positions. Now you notice on some of them, the benefits seem awfully high, but that's typically with a new position, we're assuming they would take the full benefits, full family and everything. And so we kind of plan for the most that it could be, understanding that most of the time it's less than that, but we want to budget that way. And so you can see the positions. You can see which fund they're from. You can see it's about $1.3 million for new positions, but it's spread over multiple funds. The assessing and collecting, there's some in the general fund, there's some in roads, so they each have their own funding source, so it doesn't impact the general fund all at once. We also have, these are the other ones that I mentioned that are kind of partials that are increasing their FTE and the amount. The one that I would note there that we did include the aquatic staff since we'll be opening the pool. I included that number in the budget. The rest of these I left out until you guys decide whether or not you want to fund that position. Once you say yes, we'll put it in the budget. We can see the impact as you're adding those positions in. So for right now, they're not included, but as you say yes or no, we'll include those in. We also received a number of requests for reclassifications of positions, and we haven't listed all of those here. One of the things that we reached out to our paying compensation consultant was to do a refresh. And so we would anticipate looking at those positions when we do that refresh. And so they're not included here, but we know about them and we plan on doing that all at one time so that it's consistent across all of the departments. The fund balance, one thing I'll say is we're in really good shape. Our current fund balance, and it will be adjusted as we finish out the year, but it was about $47 million. I mean, at the end of '24, our external auditor had it at about $50 million, and so, we're in really good shape. Now, this is just to show and you do need a fund balance. There's a purpose for that. Sometimes it's called a rainy day fund. Sometimes you're using it to plan for projects, and sometimes you're trying you have fluctuations in collections. For example, we collect most of our property taxes in December. You have to have money to operate the rest of the year, so you do need a good, healthy fund balance. And so the only one that I think we legally have a max on is the general fund, which is at 65%, and we're over that. And so I highlighted these in green. If they're above what we discussed at one point was the 45% that we wanted to maintain. That really just applies to the general fund. These others, I just highlighted so you can see those. We have an assessing and collecting, which we created a separate fund to account for 4 of our departments. Self-insurance, one that we've talked about, we'll continue to talk about that. Roads is fairly high, but we have a plan looking forward how we're going to start using those funds. Same with COG. Impact fees, they should be low because you should just be getting an impact fee and you have projects that you can use for those. So that's why those are pretty low as they should be. The human services and aging are low, but they're subsidized by the general fund, so you would expect that. Health department has its own property tax, and so theirs pretty healthy as well. Some that we'll need to talk about as Country Fan Fest has not come back, we'll need to talk about our tourism fund and what we're going to do going forward. Then we do have a few funds that I'm assuming that as we go through we closed down a couple of these just recently, the Transportation Special Service District and the Redevelopment Agency. We'll have to do something with those funds, or that may have already been taken care of as part of that transition, but there are a few there that we need to make sure we take care of, clean them out at some point if they haven't already been done. Capital projects should be big because those are our big projects. Airport, as we mentioned in the last meeting, is disproportionate because it includes in their assets. They do not have that much of a fund balance. We do have a few, just so that you're aware, in the general fund, there are a few that are reserved balances. And you see some of those here. One of those, we have some funding in the 911. And we've used some of that for some projects here recently. And we'll have some other projects that I've discussed with the sheriff that we may want to use some of those funds. We still want to maintain a good, healthy fund balance, but there are some funds there. And one that we'll be looking at this year is open spaces. This is when something comes out of Greenbelt, that money gets dropped in, and I think we have like 10 years to use it, or we get to send it to the state. That's not going to happen, so it's just starting to build up now, so that's something that we'll be looking at and trying to determine what we need to do with that. But generally, if you were looking at our general fund and looking at the general fund balance and looking at state code, it is, the way that it states is it's 65% of your general fund revenues that you should have a max of, which is about $26 million. Our fund balance was 49, the difference is 23. So there's 20 million-ish that we need. We typically move that into capital projects. And so as a growing community, we will need that for roads, we'll need that for keeping up with maintenance on some of our facilities and technology projects to make us ready for the future. So that's something that we'll need to discuss. This one on revenues, all this is all of the departments, this is general fund revenues. This is their revenues that they bring in. And you look, and this is sorted by category. We have taxes. And you look here, and it looks like taxes are going up 13.9%. We're just budgeting 13.9% increase because this year we budgeted for about $6.5 million in property taxes. Last year we collected $8.5 million. And so we're truing up some of those numbers. It's not because property taxes are going up. It's just truing up the numbers to reflect where we're at. Licenses, permits, that will be one that's shifting. That is being taken over by the Community Development Department. And so those revenues will be going to them. That's why it's zeroed out here. Intergovernmental, a lot of grants, and of course those come and go. It looks like they'll be down some. Charges for services, the largest one by far is the jail fees. And then we're collecting some extra with the pool being reopened as well. We'll collect some fees there. So that's positive. It looks like it'll be up about 8%. Fines and forfeitures are a little flat. We need to ask some questions on that. Miscellaneous is an interesting one. This one's hard to budget for. The biggest difference there is the interest. If you look at the interest and the investment, we budgeted for $375,000. We will probably come in at $1.5, $1.6 million, which is great. Interest rates have been high, and so we've had some good returns there. Just let me go across the top quickly as well. 2026 request, that's what we started off with. This is what we approved in the tentative budget. There's a hidden column here where I've made some adjustments from the tentative budget, and I just moved those numbers to yours. I hid mine just because it was getting too many columns. And so that is something that you guys, those are the changes you guys made. Then I have the 2025 budget, the difference between these two, the percent change between those two. And then we try to do a projection the best we can. And this was as of last Friday. I think it was last Friday. And then which is 10 months, we divide that number by 10, multiply it by 12, just to get an estimate. It works sometimes, other times it doesn't work at all. Property taxes, for example, if we did use that formula, we'd collect $1,600 in property taxes, which is totally wrong because we collected all in December. So some of that, I tried to true those up. And the last one, I guess, is this is the one that I want to mention just a little bit, is the West Desert Mitigation. This is Energy Solutions. We will collect more from them than we will pay in property taxes this year from that. I mean, we were expecting about 8.7 million. We're expecting to collect about 10 this year. Now, it's not going to continue all through next year, but we've had some discussions with them. We know it's going to happen. We'll get a higher amount at least through half the year. And so that one's kind of hard to measure where we should be, but we try to project the best that we can. And it shouldn't be money that we use long-term to hire people because it can be one time, it can come and it can go. So just be aware that that's in there just so that we can budget. And the other one that I added in. and this-
Question, Andy?
Please.
Is there any other business out there, Clean Harbors?
There's two or three. I think Jared, you had it one time. I think there's
So
three.
my question is, so the numbers you were just talking about, is that Energy Solutions only?
All three, actually. Energy Solutions is the vast majority of that. Yeah. The other one here I added in, but this is one that I just wanted to add it in so we could look at it. We're anticipating, this is with Scott Broadhead, we've been working with the state on the property that the courthouse is on. We're anticipating, we don't have the agreement yet, that they're gonna pay us, I think, $2.5 million over 2 years. And so we would be selling a fixed asset, which is the property. So I included in here just so that we remember that. Now, we can take it out because it's not approved yet, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. That's something that we anticipate. Yeah, they're going to the legislature this session to try to get that funding, and they would give it to us over 2 years, is what we've heard. So I included it just so that we know that it's there. Then the last one that I'll discuss is a summary, and this is the big picture. So this looks at each of those funds, for example, the general fund, looks at all the revenues for all of the departments and gives you a total. Looks at all the expenditures for those departments, gives you a total, then it gives you a net. This is one I want to just look at briefly, because this is why I say we're in really good shape. We budgeted for about a $5.8 million dip into our fund balance. We will probably add about $5 million. There's some things that we need to adjust here, but we anticipate it'll be $5 to $5.5 million that we'll actually add to the fund balance. We're in really good shape because of a lot of those revenues that have just come in, that we did anticipate them being so high. We're in good shape. Our fund balance will be healthy. And so I do the same thing with each of the other funds with assessing and collecting. You can see the revenues, expenditures, the net, what happens to the fund balance as we make those changes. So as we add people into those, you'll automatically see what's happening to the fund balance from here. This is all the special revenue funds. The revenues really don't matter collectively because they're independent. And then the health department as well. So that's kind of a high level. One last thing, and it will be the next slide that I was going to show, is that the projects. And so all of the requests for projects I put below the department budget. And so you see the sheriff had these items. I highlighted them here. They're color coded up above so you can see where they fall, and then a recommendation for those. So if you want to look at the capital projects, they're included in with each of the departments. And I'm going to finish with one more slide here. And I pulled this a couple of months ago, this one here. This one is from 2023. I don't have 2024 data yet. This is looking at the State Tax Commission information. It's looking at per capita property taxes for the general county government in 2023, per capita. You see that we're second lowest in the state at $142. Now, some of these counties may provide a lot more services. That's why they'll be higher. But where we're at, we're extremely low. Only Utah County is lower than us. The one interesting fact, I didn't have it on this one, but look, it was the school boards. Where does the school board rank? They rank 20th out of 29 counties per capita. The rate may be higher, but all things considered, in Tooele County, the tax burden, at least for the county services, we're fairly low on a per capita basis. So I just wanted to kind of provide a big high level where we're at, and then we'll have each of the departments come now and present that. But each of those department numbers, as you look at those and adjust those, they'll automatically feed into those first few first few tabs. You'll be able to see the impact that it has on the general budget. And that's my part, and now we'll start with individual departments.
Thank you. Andy, any comments
Any
or
questions
questions
or-
from
yeah,
council? Okay,
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we may have questions if they're not in this meeting, and we'll do those offline, so everyone knows that there's questions, but we can do them in.
Absolutely.
okay. Welcome. Extension Services.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Lyndon was afraid to come. He told me to tell Scott he thought he would be mad because BYU won. over Utah, so he didn't come.
You just share with Lyndon this. If he's afraid to come because they won, that means he's terrified of Utah fans.
In all seriousness, he's at a range management meeting in Ridgefield today, but just a little joke there. Well, thank you so much. So I did provide some slides, and I timed myself. I get really long-winded, so I'm not going to go through all of this stuff. But I did print some things for you guys if you want to look at these later. The first thing I have is just the slides. We're having some technical issues at our office, so we weren't able to get our information for our goals and accomplishments in the program. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had those. I think they're a good reflection of our department. And then our 2025 Tooele County impact report for our 4-H program. So I can pass those out later. So if you just want to pull up my budget, that's probably going to be better. Yeah. Sorry for the trouble. Sorry, Brittany. Well, if you want, I can just start going through it.
That'd be great.
So we have 2 full-time employees in our office that are Tooele County employee funded. And we're actual Tooele County employees. So we just kept the recommendations as usual for any of the salary, wages, and benefits. So it's just the recommended increase for those. There is a slight change. We work a lot of hours during our family fair week and our family camp week and fair week. And so we just would like to request that we get paid overtime for those 2 weeks. We just work a lot of hours for those weeks instead of taking comp time just as a special situation for just those 2 weeks. And so it would be $800 for that overtime budget. We left our phone and uniform allowance the same. That pays for our phones allowance for me and Courtney Hafen. And then this is probably our biggest increase that we asked for in our budget. And this is the professional and tech services budget. And this is an agreement. It's money that's sent up to USU. And it's a little bit tricky. It does pay for positions in our office. So up until now, it's paid for a 29-hour position for a home and community assistant. And it's also funded a summer intern for us, for our office. And I have numbers if you want to hear them, but we're having like an increase of between 11 and 50% on most of our programming. And so we're asking for an 18% up increase for hours per hour employee. And I can just tell you what those positions would be. So one of them is actually to replace, there's a position in our office that's being removed because of the laws and everything that's been changing with the legislative. And so we're losing her funding in December. And some things that she does for our community, and she's worked really hard to develop relationships with all these people. She does our nutritional and healthy lifestyle education for low income in our community. So this is just a few things that she does. She teaches at Head Start once a week. She goes to the Boys and Girls Club once a week and teaches her program. She teaches an after-school program at a Title I school here in Tooele County. And she teaches at the library. She does a nutritional book series, and then she does a nutritional food program education series with children at the library. She goes once a week or once a month, and she teaches a nutritional education program where she teaches elderly people that are low income how to cook on their income. And Darlene also gets grant money, and she lets them choose a grocery list under a budget, and they take them food every month. She also works at our community garden at Benson's Gristmill, which we donated 50 pounds of food to the food bank from this year. And we have plots for low-income families there, and she works with them and educates them on how to cook with that food. She works with putting meal bags together with our home and community agent, and they attend different events in our community, and they use that same grant money, and they go and provide a recipe and meal bags for low-income families, and really anybody who comes to those events. And then she teaches some of our 4-H curriculum in the summer. So she does a lot of things in our office. So we're asking just for 20-hour work week for her. And so she would just be a nutritional and healthy lifestyle education specialist in our office so that we could keep those programs that we've worked so hard to develop for our community. The other position, like I said, we do already have a 29-hour home and community assistant in our office, but with growing demands, we were hoping to make that a full-time position. So just increasing that one from 29 to a full. And then the last one, we have right now a intern in our office, and she's funded through December. And she works with Linden in horticulture and ag, and they are designing our peak garden. They finished our demonstration garden. She's now answering questions for entomology, weed questions. Linden has had over 700 documented people that have come to our office to ask questions about weeds and bugs and things like that. And so he's trained her so that she can answer those questions as well. And so it's a really valuable position in our office. And so we were hoping to keep that at a 29-hour position as well. So that's where those funds would go. And I have a list of what those other people do for their positions right here that I can give you as well. Okay, so moving along, we just increased our postage expense by $250. We would like to mail out one more mailing. We do 4 a year to all of our 4-H families, and we just have an increase of 4-H families, so we just needed to increase it a little bit as well. We have increased the dues and memberships budget by $2,000 just to keep up with the growing expenses with our 4-H program. It's grown 8% in the last year, so it's a small increase to cover just some of those costs. I am asking for an increase in our travel and education training budget of $6,080. The reason for that is for 2 of our people to be able to go to the Tyler conference. Right now, I'm the only person in our office that does the finances and knows how to do them. And it would be really nice if there was 2 just so that we could back each other up. So we're just hoping to increase the training there. Our operating supplies budget, there's just an increase of $1,750, and that's just to cover some computer programming. Up until this point, we've had USU put all our programs on our computers because it was free, but because of security, Tooele County won't allow that anymore. Obviously, they have to do what they need to do to cover their devices, and so it's just going to be a little increase for us to be able to cover the cost of some of the programs that we use on our computers. Pasture rehabilitation, no increase. Demonstration garden, we're done with the renovation, and it's beautiful. I actually had a slide for it. It's really pretty. If you haven't seen it, you should come and see it. It's really neat. So it's a great demonstration for what people can do. Localscape. It's all localscape. Yeah, it's really pretty. So we've lowered that budget down to $1,800, because that's just to maintain it now that we've renovated that. Equipment and maintenance, we've decreased that by 274, and no increase for our vehicle maintenance. So, do you guys have any questions for me?
Questions or comments, council? You look like you have one, Councilman Thomas.
You asked for more additional mailing, one more mailing.
Yeah,
How's social media playing?
So we're hoping, we are really stretched right now with our time. We are really stretched. We have been for a few years. And so we are doing social media, probably not as much as we should be. So that will come into play if we get a little bit more staff hours. We do surveys, so it's about 50%. 50% of our families are hearing about it on social media, 50% are hearing about it through the mailing. So, and you're telling important things like when their livestock animal deadlines are, and if 50% of those kids are hearing that through the mailing, you don't want to take that away. So, but I understand your question. We are moving more in that direction, so.
Thank you. Councilman Wardle?
I just want to make sure I understood the premise of the professional and technical. That the state mandated cuts to Utah State University have trickled down to the extension services, and that is a big part of requesting those increases. Is that premise correct?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
So last year, all universities had to cut their budgets by 15 to 20%. USU, of course, was one of those universities. Do you know if part of the cuts that you're seeing, for instance, the nutrition program, were part of those cuts made to meet the legislative mandate?
So one position in our office is due to that.
Okay.
So it used to be called our Create Better Health program. That program will no longer exist in the state of Utah. But that is why I highlighted the things that she does in our community, because I think it would be a detriment for us, and we're hoping that we can create a position where she can still do that type of education. She really reaches a lot of our community through what she does. So that's a 20-hour position. And then the other ones are just our requests just to keep up with our growing demands of our office.
Perfect. Thank you so much for answering.
You may not have this number, but do you know how many families participate in that?
In her programs, I don't. I'm sorry, I'm not
Okay.
prepared with that.
If you don't mind asking her and see if they can send
Yeah,
it
I'd be
out.
happy to email that to you. So I would believe it's a lot. She goes to all of the Head Starts in the county. She even goes out to Ibapaw and Wendover. A few of our programs do that. We make sure to reach the outlining, the ones that are a little further away.
Sure.
So I would believe it's quite a number. So I'll make sure to get that to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
If I could take the Justice Court just quickly, they're not here right now. Theirs is pretty static. Their revenues are down just a little bit. I think we projected high based on the previous year, and so that's one adjustment that we've made. And then their benefits, which I needed to mention that as well. Benefits, as we're doing open enrollment, we'll be changing benefits, but we looked at the current benefits that employees had, and we input those here, and we'll be looking at that again next week when we finish up open enrollment. So the Justice Court, their budget is pretty static.
Okay. And if you have any questions, council, we can certainly put those together and send it out to them.
Okay. I got a question about the overtime one, the request, when you talked about working those hours and time.
For the
But we can do
justice,
that.
okay,
after.
Thank you.
okay. Recorder,
This is the moment you all been waiting for.
do you have some popcorn too?
Yeah. Jerry Houghton, Tulare County Recorder, and Surveyor. So our budget has been pretty dynamic, so if you got your pens ready, get ready to make some notes, okay? So, position upgrades and staffing expansion, what we're asking for, and I've already ran it through Victoria McGrath's stuff is for a subdivision and development specialist, moving them up from cadastral mapper up to a grade J technical. That is the person that coordinates with all the cities and the developers on the status of our subdivisions and coordinates that, and it's quite technical. And so we submitted it for Victoria's review. It came back and approved. So, and then the other ones are the to move 3 recorder positions up to cadastral mapper positions, not add the positions, but just change that. And the reason for that is instead of spending $3,000 per person, that's the one I created, and I know I demonstrated it to Andy and a couple of people, that I created a custom GPT that trained them and tested them on it. So we've got them up, and they're actually doing the work right now, cadastral mapper, because I think you guys realized how many, we're up to our 99th tax district. We're throwing a pizza party at 100, just so you know, okay? And then I did have 2 requests, one for a new cadastral mapper and one for a recorder. I would like to just add the recorder position, just because of how busy we are with development. You know, Tooele County used to have the most development going on, and now it's Tooele City, and second is Grantsville. And so we are getting busy. I just looked at our stats. We have 27 local entity plats in review. That means annexations. We just had 8 new PIDs that Emily set up that are going to create those new taxing districts that'll get us over 100 taxing districts. 6 years ago, there were only 46 after 150 years plus. And so now, that's how fast it's going. What that means for us, we have to touch those parcels within the tax districts that typically we weren't. I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we didn't even get one. So, yeah, it's increased quite a bit. And so for that, with the cadastral mapper, quite frankly, you just can't hire them off the street. You have to train them. And so I would want to delay that to at least next year. So that one you can cross off for now. And but I do want to throw my support behind our assessor Joey Peters for her position request. It is vital that we do that. I mean, we in my office just barely got caught up after being over 6 months behind. We're only supposed to be 30 days. And so, but that was because of the incorporations that we had with Lake Point and ERDA, and having to reset up all those parcels, which was over 3,000 parcels. So.
Jerry, a question? Did you say just a few minutes ago, you had over 100 taxing districts?
We have 99 right now.
99, and the pizza party's on 100.
What's that?
We're gonna have a pizza party on 100.
On 100,
So all those go through Joy's office and your office.
yeah, yeah.
And Allison's office.
And,
Do you want me to add you to the email invite list?
yeah,
Okay, you'll bring ice cream, right?
perfect. I'll bring the
Okay.
truck.
And then staff training, we are training our people in-house, but there is great benefit for them to get other training. We've gone through Esra's, most of their free training, but to get the certification and stuff, you have to pay for the next level. And so that's why I'm asking for an increase. I think I'm at 15,000 and an increase up to 25,000, and that's for training. That training helps it where I don't have to hire more people, so. And then I have some stuff on focus and outcome, but then on the cubicle modernization and workspace, again, because of the changing dynamics, We originally were asking for 31,789 to update our cubicles. However, what we've decided is if we could get $5,000, what we would like, and that would be for furniture to set up my director of operations and then create, move some things around and just create a space for the new employee. And so, I forgot back on the first one. One of the things, and I said it's dynamic, it changed today. I was asked 2 weeks ago to be a board member for the GIS Advisory Committee, a voting board member. Our first meeting was today, and I was sitting next to Dr. Phoebe McNeely, who is at the U and GIS, and she was looking for offices that would take in interns and those students needing capstone projects. So she and I exchanged information, and that's why just recently I said, okay, I won't try to hire a cadastral mapper. I'll use their program. And we had a great discussion on what we're doing as far as innovation. So that's part of that. The next, if I can get my screen to change here, is for the surveyor budget. And on there, we weren't asking for a lot. I did ask for our surveyor, our senior, our only full-time, but he's the senior field surveyor, to move his position up to a quartile. He's been with us for about almost 6 years. And so I talked to HR about moving him into the middle quartile based on next year's. So get him a little bit, he keeps getting recruited, but I don't know why, but he kind of likes us, so he stays. So also, I would like to maintain the professional and technical budget of 45,000. What that allows us to do is projects, and then also if there's the grants, which we've been successful every year, is to match up some of that money and get as much. We were actually almost a few years ago, we were doing more than the rest of the state as far as reestablishing monuments, and we want to keep that pace up. So, next one, I would like you to consider, and this is a change, and it's been a process, and I know I've worked with Brittany, and so what we did is we started billing, and it was mostly as a tracking mechanism for internal surveys. So we've had Corey and Wayne, Brittany, and can't remember who else. We've done multiple surveys. Rochelle's office, sorry, Rochelle. And so we charge them a price. It's just to cover our time, and mostly it was to see what that was costing us because of the fact that they're not something we put in our budget to do. And if I have to use our resources to go do something else, then I end up having to hire outside help to help us keep up. So, and with just the projects, and we didn't start this till about March, after we were getting requests from some of the other offices. And so that's what I'm asking that for. It would be a separate line item that we will build those projects towards so we could track it and then see if we need to get what we were doing, the reason we were billing, there wasn't a mechanism in place that I could just transfer out of their budgets into my budget for that. So we build it, it shows up on the revenue side of things for us, but it didn't add us any additional budget money. So, and then we were asking for a carpet upgrade, but I talked with Jason and verified just in the last couple of weeks, because there's multiple offices that still need that. Jason's putting it in his budget, so we are taking it out of ours. The last thing I want to do is to commit to you and then have you reciprocate that we fully look at appropriating funding for the current, for future needs of the assessing and collecting property tax offices. I want to plan for that. I think we should. We should be using that tax. And I sent you guys all a little history on that tax and why it's there. And it's to pay for those offices. And it's important because it gives us the chance not just to meet minimum requirements, but also make sure our system's fair. And I've been working with Joy and with the auditor's office. And so my last slide is something I asked. Nobody else, I asked, okay, if we wanted to create 250,000, we do have a fund balance, but the fund balance is gonna go down. The fund balance was more or less a one-time allocation to that. And so the level they're using now is a house worth $475,000 to raise $250,000 for the assessing and collecting, which we haven't had a rate. We didn't have one for a long time until 2014, and we all know what happened. Well, I know what happened, and I think Scott does in the county at that time. And then there was another one in 2018, but we haven't had an increase from that. And so we need to keep up with the times, with the technology and stuff. And so based on that, to raise that money, it would be $7.70 on the house that costs for $475, and that would get us some money to look at. But I think we need to do a fair analysis and incrementally look at that. The other option is if you don't want to do that, then code says you're supposed to fund the remainder of it out of general fund. And I think it's a better representation if we take it out of the correct funds and make the adjustments we need to make. Do you have any questions for me?
No, thank you for the explanation. How's the drone doing? I haven't heard.
So we want to present probably in December. We've got a presentation on some other stuff for you tonight, later on in your meeting.
Oh, good.
And the drone, it was amazing. We had to, at first we thought we were getting errors, but because it was so flat, well, the silt that builds up in there settles. You know, we don't feel the earthquakes, but it's like somebody's jiggling it just to make it all settle. But it's, we're doing finishing up the calculations on it. We wanted to get a lot of data on it, but it has about 4 feet of silt in the bottom of it.
Because
From
as you
what- the
probably
way it was
know,
designed.
there's been a lot of discussions about water throughout
Yep.
the whole state, and it's
And that's
really
the first
starting.
one, and that was our test, and we thought it was important because that dam, if you go on the Division of Water Rights, that's not one they go out and check. And before we got the drone, we actually got with them, and they have a drone, but they're not interested in the small ones. But we need to know what we have, so when we start talking numbers, we have a better, and what we are going to be able to do, and we've already got most of the data, we want to invite Settlement Canyon Irrigation Company to this when we present, so they can see exactly what we found, and we can give them the best and closest estimate that they've ever had on actually the number of gallons that are in there.
Good. Questions or comments,
Got
council?
one question.
Oh, Councilman Wardle.
So the deputy recorder position, we received a letter from Josh Nelson from the State Tax Commission. Is adding that position going to mitigate the concerns of the data not getting in on time?
So say that again, I'm sorry.
Would adding that position mitigate the concerns he stated with us about data not getting to the state tax commission on time?
I'm sorry, because
Would hiring another deputy recorder
right,
mitigate the concerns that Josh Nelson expressed to us in the letter
Right.
about the data not getting to him on time?
right, right. So we all have dates. Mine is January 31st. I could tell you historically, because I've been around for a couple of years, is that they would just take December and January and update all the maps. We can't do that anymore. And so with all that stuff we've got behind, which when I'm behind, that makes Joy behind, because Joy's not sitting there waiting for me. Joy's out there doing, but that last stuff, it's like, come on, Jerry, we gotta get it done, okay? Joy, but we also have a big increase. What they're demanding, the state's demanding from us now is, and I've submitted all the data we have, is the government-owned property for the affordable housing project. They want to know if there's any pieces out there that government owns that might be able to be donated or used for that. Okay? The other part is we just got a list from the state assessed. I had to calm Joy down. But they've given us basically 1,300 parcels to draw in, which are mining claims and those kind of things, which we never ever drew those in. We negotiated with them that they would give us about 3 years. I've started to run the data to see what it's going to take, because even though it was only 1,200 parcels that they gave us, it's probably going to end up creating closer to 3,000 parcels, because what they do is they allow you, no matter where you're out in the county, to put them under, as long as you're in a taxing district area. So you might not be on the same page and stuff. And so we got to map those in a way that you can find them and that they can be tracked. We are also told them we're only sending out one tax notice per parcel, where we have some that there would be almost 50 owners of a mining claim, and each one of them got their own parcel number. But that's only on the 178 that sent us. I say only, it's gonna be a lot of work. That's probably gonna take more work than the other 1,085, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, please.
Yeah, well, just while we're looking at this, I mean, you gave numbers. What's the percent of the tax increase you're asking for on
It's
this?
the 9.2%.
So it is not,
to
so that,
1%.
it's 9.2% for everybody across, that'd be the increase of it,
That-
9.21.
On the assessing and collecting only.
Okay.
So it's not, so at that 9.21%, it comes up to $7.70 per household based on the 475. Business is $13.99.
Right, I mean, so what you're asking for 9.21, and then everyone else is gonna ask for theirs as well when it comes to the school district and,
And
right?
That's always gonna be,
Yeah,
you know, and so, yes, ours definitely gonna be a lot smaller than the school district. But we need to start planning something. You just can't say we're not gonna do it, and then here we are, we can't meet our deadlines because if Joy's late, Allison's late, and then we got Mike Jensen there sitting there. I gotta go collect money and I gotta know what we're doing. So it ends up being a roller coaster ride for all of us. And there's long hours that are put in on this. I never used to have a overtime budget, and I've asked, and that lady right there uses most of it. So, because she's working long hours. So, and you know, I show you guys, it's not just because we're doing the extra stuff, the AI and stuff. The AI has helped us keep up. I've actually got less people working for me now than when I was elected the first time in 2011, when I started. We were doing way more with way less, but there comes a point where you just can't do it. And I don't think there's anybody in the county, any of your department heads, or anybody that uses AI to do these automation than I do, so.
Thank you. Any other, oh, Councilman Thomas.
If we were going to adopt this new tax rate coming in, when do we have to have that, announce that, declare it that we're going to do that? Do you know that, Jerry, Andy, who?
You don't have to announce it now,
October first until next year.
yeah.
2026?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why, all I want is not a commitment, but we need to start talking about how we're gonna fund, our offices, and I think for transparency, you ought to say, okay, this is what it is, or either that, or say, we're transferring X number of dollars over there instead of, it's whatever slops over, so.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, like Dennis Miller said, I could be wrong, so, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sheriff's Department, here you are.
Good evening, council and manager's office. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Brought Brian here to, just in case you have some questions that stumped me, and brought the brains of the outfit with me. So I also want to extend appreciation to the manager's office for the slides, and getting them up there for us. I was really going to hit kind of high level the priority asks that we have at the sheriff's office. As you see, we have the dispatch up there. Really, the only thing we got going on at dispatch beyond covering the personnel and the standard operation budget is an ask for 3 desktop computers. We've been in a cycle where we replace 10 every few years, and we're trying to get away from that to where we do 3 a year, sustainable, predictable, and we're really only trying to budget for the inflation of the units from budget year to budget year. So we're going that direction with that. And, before I get too far into the jail budget, there's a couple smaller budgets I run. Search and rescue, it's pretty standard fare. What we budget for there is to keep the lights on, cover some training, and an occasional piece of equipment. We do run our Homeland Security grant out of there. That way, all stakeholders within the county benefit from that funding because search and rescue provides services to the entire county. And so I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time on search and rescue. And then also animal control. Animal control, we run a shoestring budget with animal control, and that is primarily to fund our agreement with Dr. Roundy. It's always very hit and miss on how much that budget fluctuates, depending on how many animals and how long they get held. But you guys have always been really gracious to adjust that budget as needed. It's just a little bit it's kind of one of them that's a little bit unpredictable. So we budget a minimum amount, but yeah, come September next year, I may be come and ask for a little more money in that line item. But I also don't want to tie up funds unnecessarily if it's not necessary. Okay, moving to the jail budget. Jail budget and the sheriff's budget are the big ones that we run. Our appliances in the kitchen are challenging at best. They're starting to age out. We were able to find some money in this year's budget to replace an oven, but the commercial grade dishwasher, it is nickel and diming us to death, but more importantly than that, it is breaking down and putting us without a dishwasher, which makes it impossible to keep up with the dishes of 206, 207 inmates, 3 meals a day. So we're subject to the exact same inspection as restaurants when it comes to the health department. And so one of their inspections in this past year was during a breakdown of our dishwasher, It was kind of noted in that inspection, and so we are looking to replace it. Weirdly enough, to replace with the exact same unit we have is north of $70,000. And I know that I about choked on it when I heard that. We have found other brands of commercial grade ones that are in the 30 some odd thousand range, and that's the direction we're going to go with it. I don't love Hobart, but not that much. And so we're gonna opt for a little more affordable option with that dishwasher, and it'll be in the $41,000 range. And then jail van, every 3 to 4 years, we like to replace, we like to introduce a new van into our van fleet. It keeps them reliable. The last thing we want to do is break down with inmates in the van if we can help it. And this is a rotation that allows us to maintain though it's a small fleet, it's a reliable fleet. And we've got one we need to cycle out here in the not too distant future, and this would allow us to do that. Our transportations are ever increasing. The caseload over at the courthouse, as Attorney Broadhead can attest to, we take van loads of inmates day in and day out over to the courthouse. And on top of that, we have to maintain the transportation requirements in order to maintain our agreement with the federal marshal's office in bringing them contract beds out to us. They don't transport, we have to do it in order to get them in our bed, or in our jail. Computers, we're in need of 6 desktop computers. This one I hadn't really anticipated. This was one of them that in order to run Windows 11, I have 6 computers that do not have the technology to do that. And I appreciate Scott and his team in identifying the units that need to go in the jail. There was a couple other items that I'm backing off of, as in one of them was a artificial intelligence for report writing. That's in the sheriff's budget. I'll get to that in a minute. But there was these warming cabinets for food in the jail. They're hellishly expensive. We have worked with our contractor. We've gone another direction with that. So that's an area where it's in the current budget. But if we want to back that out, I'm comfortable with that. All right. Okay, so the big ask in the jail is two new corrections deputies. And the primary focus of these 2 new corrections deputies will be in the transportation division. And, as you guys remember last year, Judge Dow recommended 3 bailiffs. We ended up getting 1. The challenge isn't as much the bailiff as much as it is when we're doing all these transports on heavy court days and trying to keep up with the marshals and what have you. We end up pulling from the bailiff crew and at times from our jail staff, pulling them off the floor, compromising minimum staffing levels in both the courthouse and the jail. So these 2 deputies, Brian and I have talked at length about this, that we really need to assign them into transportation. Our sergeant over transportation, she's here tonight. She runs our court security, and you've probably seen her send the staff around on a walk around even this building. And so they would fall under her love and care, and she would schedule their work schedule and make sure that our transports are effectively executed day in and day out. And then to the sheriff's budget. We've, for years now, appreciative of your guys' support, 5 new law enforcement vehicles. And that has kept us in a rotation to where we just simply don't have the catastrophic failures of any engines or transmissions that we used to experience prior to this. And again, it's kind of hard to assign the dollar amount when you don't have to have your work vehicle towed. And so it's been a good rotation. Again, thanks to IT, they identified 12 desktops and let's see, and 5 laptops. I believe we have identified some funding for 3 of them from elsewhere, so we're going to go with the 2. And so we believe we can, and this is again to get computers with the technology to run Windows 11. So apparently we haven't been cycling out our computers frequently enough. And then this was kind of the sunset year for the training facility that we had discussed, I think it was 3 years ago. And we'd be looking for an opportunity to have some plans drawn up and see exactly what that's going to entail and look like. And we had a target of a little over $2 million to put that into play. And that's just based off of what the fire station costs, the weeds department building costs, just kind of a combination of what experience the county had in understanding what that training building would cost.
Can you take a question?
Just
Yes,
on this.
no, please.
So I know that we're looking at this, and I know we've been saving. I guess the question I have is, have we started, like, looking at RFPs so we can
We have
narrow
not.
down costs and start getting proposals?
We have not yet, and that is, and I recognize the reality is it could be bumped into the next year, depending on how RFPs, engineering, et cetera, goes. Because honestly, I have no clue what it's going to take to make it happen.
Would it be good to take some of the, I'm looking for your support.
Yes.
So you guys, I'm lobbying right now. Would it be good to take $100,000 though and start the programming on this facility so we really understand where our costs are going to need to be in the next 2 or 3 years?
Yes.
And place that in this year's budget,
Yes.
or this next year's budget?
Yeah, I have no reason to dispute that or argue that. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I think it's, I appreciate the good faith effort. Yeah, we want to do this, but we need more information. And I don't know another way to get the information other than to pay for it.
Well,
and
and
put
we've
it-
got money sitting there. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the time value money doesn't pan out very well in
Yeah.
construction costs. So if we can start looking and nailing that down, that would be
And,
great.
and I think that's a good approach. It's simply from the fact that I don't want to say, okay, I need a building for 2.4 million and not get what I need. I'd much rather see, okay, let's say it costs 3.5 million. Well, maybe we need to wait another year or two to make it happen, because I'd much rather be patient and get what's truly going to serve our needs versus get a compromised building. And so our effort is to be able to move all our training into that building, which will open up the current training room into a office area for my detective staff. Right now, they're in a makeshift office out in a warehouse. I want them walking past my door every day rather than behind in the warehouse. And this would give us the space to do that. And also expand our gym. Because if Brian and I show up and work out together, our gym's full. And so a crew can't, even after the end of shift, go in and work out together, because 4 people in that gym is crowded. And so part of that training facility would be a big classroom and a gym, a expanded gym. So anyway, let's move on. Welcome, Councilman. You just got to the bed. You arrived just in time. Of course, the other big ask is 2 road deputies. you know, I sent with you a bit of a comparison. It's not the end-all to be-all of staffing studies, but it is a fair representation of how we stack up to neighboring agencies. And one of the challenges in the past has been we'd be 4 or 5 positions down. And for me, it didn't make a lot of sense to ask for 2 more positions and then be 6 or 7 positions down. Because I think there were some things that needed to be fixed. And you guys, you guys have fixed that. You know, 3 of the things that you guys have fixed over the past few years is you fixed the cost of benefits. We're now competitive in that arena, and it's appreciated. We had the pay study done, and you guys made a good faith effort to make that, correct that, and we are much more competitive than we were prior. And then last year, you generously corrected retirement for public safety. And that has made us competitive, and it's really laid the foundation to where we're at a point in time where if I were to get approved a deputy, I could fill them positions and have them working within 5 to 6 months. And as we incur more and more growth, whether the growth is in Tooele City or Grantsville City or unincorporated Tooele County, it impacts us. Sheriff's offices do some things that municipal agencies do not do, namely papers. They don't serve papers. We're statutorily required to oversee the service of papers in our county. And so we end up serving a ton of papers. And so the impact is, regardless of where the growth is, it impacts our road deputies as well. Minimum staff.
Sheriff, if I
yeah.
can just ask, because I've had some folks say, and it's kind of going with where you're just at, right? As ERDA has come on, they've contracted with us, but we hear rumors that they may do something else, like
Yeah.
doing the same thing. So I get asked, okay, well, the area, or we'll use area, right, that the sheriff's office is going to do could potentially diminish if those go down.
Yep.
But to your point, there's still things that you'd have to do, even if ERDA says, hey, we're going to start our own, or we're going to contract with someone else.
That is true. Now, if they incorporate, they start their own police department, it does change the level of service we're going to be providing in that municipality, and we'll have to make adjustments. However, sheriff's office have been dealing with this since the dawn of time. And why I don't get overly worried about it by saying, all right, well, the math says I got to cut a position. The chances are I'm going to lose a position to ERDA Police Department. And so I'm not too worried about putting deputies out of work because the chances are they're going to lure them away from me anyway. It happens every time you see an incorporation or a police department start up in Salt Lake County and they would steal from Unified or the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. Taylorsville has started their police department at least twice, maybe 3 times, off and on since they incorporated as a city. And so there's always that back and forth. And I think it's that risk is always there and will always be there for a sheriff's office. And the reality is, yeah, if the math doesn't pan out, then the reality is we may need to cut a position. And I think that our attrition rate is such that we're not talking like very long before that position would attrition out,
And I
you know,
appreciate
within
that,
the same
because
year.
that's the conversation I had is, why are you gonna hire 2 if you know, and know is a loose word, right? That you're just gonna have to let them go because that, but to your point, someone may go join that new police and you have that, or
Yes.
there's some regular attrition, so it's not like we're going into it saying, yeah, we're gonna do this, but if this happens, you know,
Yeah.
we're gonna get rid of them.
I don't look at this impacting this organization in a way like the RIFs did back, 12, 13 years ago, to where it makes it so this is an unreliable employer to people. I think we'll be fine. It is, I don't worry about it because I'm the one that's gonna have the conversation with, anyone who goes, but I really think the conversation is gonna be say, hey, Sheriff, Erda made me an offer, I'm leaving. And we would support that. We want good partners in the community.
I know that the conversations are being had with us from their council level.
Yeah.
And there's a concern now on our side that there's a possibility, not a probability of a change, where there was no probability of a change 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, 2
And
days
it's
ago.
always going to have that cycle. And, and it'll change with elections. Every election. So, and so, before we did have a item in there for some AI to help officers with the report writing. We've been demoing the one we budgeted for. It's not working like we wanted it to. So we're kind of withdrawing that ask because it's not going to be the system we go with. And so we're going to wait. Again, that's one of the things we want to get it right before we come and ask for the money. And if we end up identifying one that Scott approves of and we approve of, I may come to you and say, hey, this is an opportunity for us to up our technology and be a force multiplier for the deputies out there.
Any questions or
questions?
comments? Has anybody approached you about cameras at streets that read
License plate readers, yes. I actually have a handful, and we budget for them. We did take over Stockton's 2 cameras. However, that brand has priced themselves out of the market in my mind. And it's not very often that you have Motorola beat anybody in price. And if Motorola's beating you, you're doing something wrong. So we have some Motorolas. Some are in it. And what have we got? 3? Yeah, so we have 3 license plate reader cameras. Right now, they're mobile, but we anticipate growing over the years for license plate
Would you
cameras.
say they're mobile?
They're mobile, so we can position them anywhere.
Okay.
So I can put one out at 5 Mile Pass where everyone dumps dead bodies. Sorry, or even we've. I should probably be better about my audience, but.
I thought it was awesome. Not gonna lie.
But, even our conversation we had with BLM out at the Salt Flats, that's an opportunity. I don't want to necessarily take over their responsibility to do something out there, but at the same time, I don't mind putting my trailer out there because I think there's some funding there that I can bill them for putting a trailer with a license plate reader camera on it. And so we've utilized them. It's an invaluable investigative tool, and we're kind of in the infancy. Tooele City's got a handful, Grantsville City has a handful, and we share the data, and it solves homicides, I'm telling you. We investigated a homicide recently that I think they're presenting to the attorney's office on the 6th, tomorrow. An awful lot of corroborating evidence was derived off of license plate readers. Yeah, and so SBI, State Bureau of Investigation. What's that?
Is that the main way that you use them, is just for after the fact, or are they proactive in?
It's after the fact, really. So if you have a stolen vehicle, you can put that data into the system, and it'll tell you the last time it got caught by one of these cameras, date and time, and so you can kind of get an idea of where that vehicle might be going. But in the case of homicides, if you got any kind of data, you can start researching them cameras, and it will basically paint a timeline of this person's travels, because they're only getting more and more capable and more used, and there's more and more out there. The only thing that would kill us if the legislature decides it's an invasion of privacy. Yeah, the Dell murder on that I-80 on-ramp. And that was basically solved with license plate readers. They were able to track him all the way to the state of Washington with them. And so, we'll incorporate more and more into our county. We need a handful, especially in our main ingress and egress areas. Like we need one out at the Juab, Tooele County line. I'd like to see the state put one out at, cover all of I-80, but, and they are, you know, they're working on it. It's just, it only takes a little bit of time. Any other questions for me?
Questions, comments?
Can I ask just one question?
Oh, please.
This is just planning a seed, and I know we've had this discussion, so this is on the radios, the towers.
Yes.
And so in the past, we had the radios built, I think, with a lot of federal money, and the upkeep is now starting to come due, and we have a lot of users for that. And if we've had the discussion, maybe we use a little bit of the dispatch fund balance to help with some of that.
Yeah.
But at some point, we put together a budget for the next 5 or 6 years on what it would take to maintain that. And at some point, we will probably have to have a user fee for those that have the radios. And that's just a discussion that we need to start to have, because all those that use it should be paying into it. It shouldn't be the county paying for the entire upgrade. And so we need to kind of start walking through that.
And that's been one of them things, you know, obviously we have a project going on right now. It's about $161,000 for the fire dispatching software to help them with their mission. But after that, I think the amount you're looking at, I think we can utilize a pretty solid portion of that and utilize that into, whether it's called towers or we incorporate the towers into the dispatch budget and just, you know, use the maximum amount we can to offset the cost. You know, I don't think it's I agree. It is a fair ask to say everyone needs to participate in the funding of our ability to communicate. Just like dispatch itself. Everyone needs it, everyone should pay for it.
Everyone's using that?
Yes, and so yes, we'll have that discussion. Speaking of which, that sheet you had up, can I get a copy of it? And then also, I mean, I don't need everybody's. If you can share with me mine or what of it is there, and then the recommendations you had for my asks. So I'd appreciate it.
Awesome. Any other, Councilman Thomas?
If we were to fund the positions, the correction officers, the road officer, does that include, what does it cost to outfit a road officer for that vehicle, everything he needs to go to work?
Yeah. The initial expense of it is, I mean, obviously, we're talking about $1,000 worth of firearm holster and leather gear, another $500 of uniform. But the vehicle, that would be one of them things we would incorporate down the road. I would want to see how our fleet's holding up with the extra positions. And before I would say, now I need 6 vehicles into the rotation. You know, because it doesn't automatically, just because I get 2 positions, now I need 2 more vehicles per year. It would be one of them things where we'd be fine with the 5 for the time being. And then as our fleet starts to show signs of too high a miles or starting to become dilapidated, then we would approach you in a future year on, all right, we probably do need to roll in another vehicle here and there. And so, yeah. And it may be 5 one year, 6 another year, back to 5. You know, I don't see it being it needs to be scaled according to the growth.
So if we were to approve those positions, it doesn't automatically come with a new vehicle?
No. No, the dollar amount is for the individual and the benefits that go along with it.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you,
Thank you.
Brian. Thank you for being his support.
Well, no, you guys were easy on us, and he didn't have to answer the tough questions, so.
As you know, we just moved the CJCC under the Human Services, and so we just moved his presentation to be here right now. It's just, we'll be starting with Peter next, so. Dallin?
Sure. I'm not asking for any kind of budget increase this year. I think we operate well on what we have, and it's a state, the CJCC, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, is a state mandated. They made all counties do it in 2022. So I more just wanted to give a brief overview on what we've done this last year and what our plans are for the next year. We've been hoping for a receiving center. We are in line for funding for one from the state. And once we get that funding, we'll present that to the council and we can make a decision if we want, that's really something we want to do. But Salt Lake City is receiving it all right now. They're getting a big receiving center and maybe more. It sounds like something bigger than that even. But this last year, we created a county resource directory where we put together gathered all of the resources we could find for people coming through the criminal justice system, whether that's housing, behavioral health, medical, mental health. And we have that available and have distributed that out to the courts it's especially helpful for people who are sentenced with certain conditions and they have to find those services. They're not usually provided or specified by the court. They're just said, hey, go get an evaluation for substance abuse, and they have to go Google it, find it online. So this is to help with that, to help people succeed who are coming through the criminal justice system. And then we also got a grant in September of last year, of 2024, that we've implemented. I think we brought that before you, and with AMP, Pretrial Services, and they have been doing that, have been conducting pretrial services in the justice and district courts for the past 4 or 5 months, and we've reported to the state on our efforts there and have been tracking metrics. The metrics, I just spoke with them today, need a little bit of refining. They give us some data, but not enough to compare it against other data and draw a good conclusion from it. So that's our goals for last year. This next year, we're keeping the receiving center there. We just need to keep our spot in line. We want to, probably our biggest goal is to create a data collection and sharing system. There's not a lot of data that we're collecting right now that goes towards recidivism or people reoffending, especially coming in and out of the jails. Pretrial services is going to help with that, but we're going to work with the jail and the courts. I think those will be the 2 big ones to collect more data about when people are released from jail, how often, whether pretrial services is making a difference on that, and then hopefully create a website to put those county resources that I had on a CJCC website to be public facing to the community as a resource, and also display data there that will give the community and others an idea about where we're tracking as far as recidivism and how often we're keeping people in jail and how many resources we're providing to them when we get out, community reintegration, whatever data sources we can pull. So.
Any questions or comments?
I've got a question. Just remind me again.
Turn on your mic, would you, Council? Okay.
Remind me again, how much the state's gonna pay for and for how long?
For
For all of this, your
For
department?
this?
Yeah. For whatever, because the
For this, for the-
CJCC is the state mandated.
CJCC is paid for, the council, my position, I'm on contract with the county, and then that's like 66,000 over the year, and then there's another 6,000 to 7,000, I think it's 6,500 for monthly meetings and any kind of trainings or potential.
And just how much of that is the state paying for?
None of the state's not paying for any of that, yeah. The state's paying for the contract for pretrial services, but, yeah, they're not paying for the CJCC mandated program at
So
all.
the county funds the operation of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, but the pretrial services, we have a grant for 2 years.
Yes, and that'll run out September next year, and they may renew grant funding again if they don't, but we're hoping to show some numbers in case it does run out to be able to justify it. But we'll cross that bridge, I guess, when it comes.
Any other questions or comments, council? Thank you.
Okay, thank
very
you.
much.
I think even adding on to what Dallin was talking about with the CJCC and the contract for the pretrial services, there's a lot of potential for cost savings over time. We understand that when people don't show up, they have these bench warrants that are issued and all these types of things. And so the intention is that it'll end up paying for itself over time. And the CJCC is looking really closely at that data to build up that story to show that it's not all for naught that way. So, okay, so my name is Peter Clegg. I'm the Director of Human Services. I was trying really hard to keep it down to 3 slides, and so they're not very fun to look at. But just a really high level looking at some of the requests that are found in my budget requests this upcoming year for projects. So projects and the personnel requests kind of go hand in hand, but a major priority of Human Services is to look at how can we reduce the financial burden or liability on the county and the general fund. And so I've been the last, I don't even know how long, I've only been in this position for a little bit over a year, really looking at these opportunities of, what can we do to really reduce that burden. One major thing that I saw is that a lot of the scope of this department is just to kind of pass the money through and provide monitoring and oversight governance for different contracts and with our provider network and all these types of things. We were missing out on opportunities to collect on administrative fees that we could pass on with these state funds that are coming through and then sending them on to our contractors. We were contracting out a lot of those types of opportunities to capture the administrative fees, and what this request will help facilitate is building up the capacity so that we can provide the type of administrative oversight that is necessary for these, specifically our behavioral health services. So to do that and to really maximize our ability and build up the capacity to do this effectively, we need to purchase an electronic health record. And this will help us really integrate and capture the services that are being rendered. We have contracted a lot of this through our managed care organization, Optum, and what an EHR would help us do is be able to capture all the claims billing on the non-Medicaid function or non-Medicaid services, and then we can capture more of that overhead as it comes through. And then next slide talks a little bit more to be able to reach that level of capacity and to really, because we have to build this billing software or purchase a product, but there's still a lot of back-end building that needs to happen for coding and getting everything set up, to hire a fiscal analyst of some sort that can help us really monitor the dollars that are going out and the data collection process as it relates to the electronic health record. So just alone for being able to capture all of the administrative fees on our non-Medicaid or our state funding, we'll be able to create a cost saving about $350,000. And so a position and the EHR, which would be a one-time expense, and then an ongoing expense for the EHR. From the product that we're looking at and from my counterparts throughout the state, we're looking at an ongoing thing of maybe $8,000 to $10,000 a year for the EHR. And so really, we're looking at a projected savings to the bottom line of about $350,000, which feels like it's worth it. And we'll also check some of the boxes of feedback that we get from our behavioral health audits from the state of providing an appropriate level of oversight and governance to our contractors and the funding that we're passing through, rather than just kind of blindly sending funding through. And so this all kind of ties together with a lot of I've been presenting to you all the last month, and we're just kind of at a place where we need to just take another step so that we can have the appropriate level of capacity to really take advantage of the opportunity. And then just again, high level kinds of other things to make note of in my budget request. We are anticipating a small increase in our Medicaid liability for the prepaid mental health plans, so that's Medicaid. And just due to the amount of eligibles, our county's growing quite a bit. So just kind of projecting a slight increase for that liability. And then for the non-Medicaid portion of the behavioral health section of the budget, that we're going to break out a new line item for tracking the local match obligation. So a lot of the state non-Medicaid funds have a match component to it. Just out of transparency, I want to create a new line so that we can report on that more readily to the state for our audits and different types of things. So that's kind of built into everything. It's always been part of our expenditures already. This is just creating a separate line item to be more transparent and for those reporting purposes. Increasing that indirect administrative revenue that ties into the what I was just speaking about with the non-Medicaid revenues and the administrative expenses that we'll be able to collect. The opioid settlement projects, we're expecting those proposals to come in. We have a healthy fund balance, so we're going to increase that a little bit and get some projects funded and awarded for this upcoming year. And then we've seen an increase in requests for indigent cremations. We have a contract with Tate Mortuary. We have a very favorable rate with them per cremation. We're just seeing more of these pop up, and so it's just a matter of adding a couple more to our budgets so that we can just keep things moving along that way. There's other odds and ends, but those are just the primary highlights.
Any questions or comments for Councilman Thomas?
This is very nice information, thanks for the packet. I was looking through on the Human Services on that financial, proposed finance position where a proposed saving of $350,000. I don't see that as a recommendation on the back. Is that, I missed something, I'm not reading it. Is that what we're gonna recommend, not recommend?
So we haven't included in the position yet because they wanted to present the position first. And so I'm not sure if we included the revenue as part of that, or they kind of go together, I guess, is what it is. So if you approve the position, we would add in the expenditures related to the position and the software, and then we would add in the expected revenue as well at that time, so they kind of come together.
Yeah, just to bundle it all. And Andy had mentioned at the beginning with the personnel request that it was one of those approved or recommended positions, but it isn't it's not included in the salaries or benefits in the
Once you decide on the
spreadsheet that way.
positions, we'll add it back in. Yes.
I've got a question. When we were back in NACO in July, the big beautiful bill had just passed, and there was a lot of discussion about how the intent of some portions of that were gonna push more of the expenses for things like this, for Medicaid and stuff, back to the local governments, to the state and counties and stuff like that. Have you heard anything on the big beautiful bill, how that's gonna potentially impact you?
There has been a lot of discussion about it with our UAC affiliates. We haven't seen any financial, anything real come of that that would negatively impact us. And our federal funding, our discretionary funding has remained the same. As far as the Medicaid aspects, we haven't seen any significant changes in those rates or the increase in burden at the local level. The state continues to appropriate, I think we get about $700,000 a year specifically for Medicaid match related to go towards our portion or our Medicaid liability. And the state has mentioned that they'll remain committed to appropriating that. That's a legislative appropriation, and there's a lot of history behind that, and I anticipate it to continue.
Okay, well, if you just hear any changes coming up, let us know as soon as you can, so we can adjust if we need to.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern, and we're watching it really closely.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you. Matt?
Buenas noches. Matthew Fligger, Human Resources Director. Mine should be quick and pain-free, hopefully. For ours, we're maintaining current staffing due to our increase in headcount. 2024, we do want to increase for education and training. We did have a decrease in our software spending for personnel systems. That was from our NovaTime to UKG transition. We paid to get that and the new hardware for that. As far as projects go, one request is I'd like to do a health fair for our employees. I think wellness is a big push that I feel that is important. One thing that we'd like to do is an employee health fair. To included in that is a blood drive with provider feedback. So we would provide that for our employees. So that is an expense that we would have. A little bit of a decrease in engagement, and then the other increase in my budget would be for third-party market study for compensation. We're keeping that on a cycle where we can make sure that we're at market. So we would look at having that reviewed for 2026 for a possible implementation for 2027, depending on how that shakes out. So that would have a third party come in and look at that. Overall, mine is a net decrease over 2025, so hopefully that's a positive. But that's pretty quick and dirty for me. What you got?
Any questions, comments?
Just a quick statement, I guess. We did put in funding for the pay and compensation, and so we'd like to start that as soon as we can. Now, this would be entirely up to you if we wanted to set aside money to implement part of that, but we just have no idea until we do that. And so let's do the study first, kind of see where we're at, and if it's something we can accommodate this year, we can look at it. If not, then it would be the next year, but we need to do the study first. Let's just put it that way.
Yes. The other bald one?
The other bald one. Beautiful bald.
3 of the last 4 have had the great haircuts.
Yes. Simple
Sorry,
to maintain.
Peter.
Simple to maintain.
That's my swimming haircut.
Yes, he does.
Should I schedule a haircut? Good evening, Council. Scott Persons, Information Technology. I'll try and make this pretty quick as well. So we have 5 things that we talked about, capital improvements that we would like to do this year. And then in looking at our budget and looking at some of the renewals of contracts, we had one that came up that we looked at, and we found a way to save a considerable amount of money over the 3 years. And that's that would be our Palo Alto firewall service contracts. So we negotiated with them, and this is our big ticket item for this year. Our Palo Alto system is the backbone of our security and our data network for the county. It is considerably going up, and we have a conservative number of 10%. We're seeing more like 14 to 15 to 20% in that increase every year. So we sat down with Palo Alto and said, we need a way to maintain this at a reasonable cost. We came up with that. The upfront cost is where we get it. We're looking at a little over $600,000, but it saves us $400,000 over the next 3 years if we do the upfront cost. So in speaking with Andy, county managers, we talked about if we hold back on some of our capital improvements this year and just do the mandatory that we need to do, going through with that contract and saving that money, and then in the next few years do those capital improvement projects after we've saved some money. So the only capital improvement project that we are basically required to do is our server room UPS on our uninterruptible power supplies. They have been, the company went under 2 years ago. The company we've worked with has been able to maintain them on spare parts. We are now running out of that piece. We don't have the batteries. We don't have the service contract on that anymore. So what that does is keep our data networks up and running in the event of a power outage until we can get our generators kicked on and stuff. So that is a primary component to our network that we have to replace this year. So that's our one big capital improvement project we're asking for. The second thing above and beyond our normal is that 3-year contract with Palo Alto to save us that money. It's an upfront cost, but it will save us that a little over $400,000 over the 3 years. The second thing third thing we worked on was our Cisco contract, and we are at the place and that's our core infrastructure communications for the county. We worked that out into a multi-year contract. It doesn't change our yearly, but it sets our rate so we're not increasing over the next 5 years. So it's not an upfront cost. It keeps the same, but it will save us about 27% over the next 5 years in that arena. Those are the big things we are asking for is IT this year. The other thing that I would throw out there that is something we need to look at, which is our Veeam server. It's about $75,000. It is in our capital improvements. We just got word that we are probably going to need to upgrade that because of the components in it this year. So that it's not a necessity, but it is what controls all of our backups of our data throughout the year. So before I came up here, I was just with Ashley Williams, our server administrator. He's been trying for 2 weeks to get the system that we have now to run with the new agents, and he's just fighting with it. So that would be the only other thing we would look at as a major project for us this year.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Do you have any idea how many times there's attempted attacks on our system?
Yeah, I do, actually. We were up to about 15,000 a day at the beginning of this year.
Okay. Because I was at the 47G conference yesterday, and I believe it was Stryker, one of those companies that's in cybersecurity. They were talking about how there's a Chinese company that has records on, and they've claimed over 7 billion people on the planet. So if there's any of us that have an online presence at all, they have our information.
Yeah.
And our records.
It's a considerable amount of attacks we see. We are catching about
email,
98.
anything like that. The Chinese have it and know about it, and or monitoring it and stuff like that.
Yeah, in fact, we do a pretty good job. If you look at our percentage of emails that come through, and I know we catch some that we shouldn't, but I'd rather be on the safe side than the more lenient side of that. we're looking at that 15,000, about 10 to 11,000 are emails coming into our system. And the rest are attempts to get into our network. And that's either from border attempts, they find an outside address. The good news is some of our hosting that we do aren't our addresses. So we see hits, but they're going off to a third party. But it is increasing on a daily basis. And just kind of our numbers right now, in the county, we have just under 11,000 devices we maintain throughout the county.
And that's the Palo Alto you said
That protects those? Yeah, we put Palo Altos, they're a firewall, they're the #1 firewall in the world. And we put those at every edge and every border in between. So even if health department got something in through there, we have Palo Altos between there and here, so it protects our systems. So we put them on every edge of our network.
Can you explain the 11,000 just so that they understand that's not computers? That is all devices.
That is not computers.
So-
Andy and I had this talk, so we were looking at some increases for connectivity at Deseret Peak, and well, they've only got, 10, 12 computers out there. Well, they've got hundreds of devices that we maintain out there, between cameras, between sensors, between
door locks.
Yeah, it's
phones.
It's incredible the numbers that are coming up. We also monitor things on our guest network, not for what they're doing, but for any types of invasions into our systems or attempted connections.
Any other questions or comments, Council?
Good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Manager's Office. Thank you for the opportunity. Corey Bullock, Parks and Recreation Director. Our focus this next year will be on opening and staffing the Energy Solutions Aquatic Center. That'll be a main focus without taking any steps back in our programming, events or trails that we maintain and provide for the public. In our request, you'll see that we're going to reestablish the seasonal staff for the pool that was eliminated in 2025 because the pool didn't open. The other thing we're going to ask for is the reclassification of 2 positions, and then looking at the communication marketing coordinator, moving that to communication marketing manager with the study. We're looking at moving the aquatics coordinator seasonal position to aquatics rental supervisor full-time. This is not uncommon in the Parks and Rec world to have an outdoor pool with a full-time employee that does other things in the off-season. A lot of people say, well, the pool's only open for 3 months. It takes us 3 months to get ready for it. We're open for 3 months. It takes 3 months to shut down. So it's really a 9-month long activity for an outdoor pool to be able to do that. So that's not uncommon that you have an aquatics supervisor for an outdoor pool that does other things on those kind of down 3 or 4 months. Capital-wise, we're requesting some additional upgrades to some of the facilities at the pool that were not part of the rebuild, finishing some AC units, sound system at our motorized arena, and some heaved concrete around the peak. And then capital equipment, replacing a couple of dilapidated pieces of equipment, including a truck and a tractor, and a forklift that we will be sharing with the weeds department in the new building that we have down there. So, and then operationally, Parks and Recreation manages 5 budgets. Okay, we manage the Benson Gristmill budget, which is going to go down this year because we're not going to request as much to resell in our store. We just don't have the traffic we used to have there. We have a Parks and Rec budget that we've moved money around in, but that is fairly stable. We have a special events budget that is stable with the one kind of one-off request of an American 250 celebration next year, some funding for that. And then we have a trails budget that, again, will be very stable this year. The one budget that we're asking for a change in is, of course, the peak, and that is simply to increase the utilities and the operating supplies so that the pool could come back online. So we've added an additional heater at the pool. So previously there were 2, now there are 3 heaters. And the cost of chlorine, if you were in the chlorine business, we wouldn't be having this conversation now because you'd be retired. So the cost of chlorine has gone up significantly. And so we've asked for those increases in our operations budget. Questions?
Questions or comments? I have one. Do you have any reason why the population or the attendance down at Benson Grist Mill has gone down?
It's not really a matter of the attendance has gone down, just what we have in the store is not quite what people are looking for, and we're evaluating revamping that. So this is just simply resale items. Soda pop, candy bars, we've decreased that. We've actually not decreased all the operations.
So you still have the people, the foot traffic.
Right, this is just a matter of resale items. We're not selling as many candy bars as we did previously, so. When that starts to pick up, we'll reevaluate that.
Okay. Questions or comments?
You want to mention the status of the pool right now, where we're at, what's happening this week?
So the pool will be, the lap pool will be preloaded this week or early next week, and it'll sit there for 30 days. In case you're wondering, 650,000 gallons of water will sit there for 30 days to make sure the pool doesn't move. Most of the cement work is done, being finished up currently, and they've shifted to working on the buildings, on a couple of the locker room issues we had to bring it up to code, and then the mechanical room to make sure that that's up to snuff where it needs to be.
Okay. Councilman Wardle?
So I just want to make sure I'm clear on what I'm seeing, okay? When we talk about the Derby sound system, that's because it hasn't ever been replaced, or it has to be replaced, correct?
It needs to be replaced. It's a severely antiquated system.
Okay.
That motorized arena we use more than almost any other arena we do because we've introduced Stadium Cross, and we do 15 Stadium Cross dates, and we really suffer with that arena.
Perfect. Okay, so the second question is, heaved concrete it's just O&M that,
right,
things we have to take care of because of what's going on.
And this will be an ask for several years. We're just trying to piecemeal it together. Instead of asking for a huge chunk to do all the concrete, we're gonna do the stuff that's important first.
And then the last one is the AC chiller, same thing, it's time, we gotta
It
get it
is, yeah.
changed.
So we replaced, we have 6 units on top of the indoor arena. We replaced 4 of them because of the cost had gone up from when we previously asked. This is to replace the other 2 in the chiller.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask just one more?
Please.
Just a little discussion, I guess. This is something we'll have to look at going forward. We'll be coming back to discuss what we're charging for entrance at the pool. I mean, we're currently charging $4, and if you look at the cost for our employees and chlorine and all this, it doesn't come close. And so we need to evaluate that. And part of his request earlier was some revamping of the concessions at the pool. We need to find ways to generate more money, and so that's one of the things, let's invest in that so that we don't have to raise those fees as much. And so we need to start making some of those improvements just because we can capture more revenue if we have those facilities available.
Correct.
Is that,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we still need to have the discussion on what we need to look at the fees. And we understand the city may be looking at changing their fees at Pratt as well. And so that's something we do need to adjust. $4 is awfully cheap for an all day for somebody to hang out at the pool. And so
Yeah, I know he talked about that, where the study is on what we're charging and how we're charging it.
yeah, so that's a discussion that we need to have as kind of going forward as we're getting ready to open the pool.
Any other questions or comments?
Ken wants to sell beer down there.
Hey, beer gardens go over big.
We have a beer license. We do have
Can't have beer in the pool.
we do have a beer license. It does violate our pool.
So they can buy it as they leave?
Well, we maybe sell it on the way out, so.
There you go.
That might not be happy with the sheriff, though.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any other discussion items? If not,
Oh, we got one more.
okay. Oh, my gosh. I even had it written down here.
That's okay. I'm easy to overlook because I'm so quiet.
Yeah, that is definitely the adjective I would use to describe you.
Good evening, Wayne Anderton, the Solid Waste Director. I appreciate you guys making the adjustment for me because I'm going to be out of town next week and I had a conflict, so I'm grateful to come tonight. My first slide is a person that we need We originally had a position in here, and can't remember if it was 2 years ago, Andy and I had a discussion that we decided to take it out as a placeholder, and we put it back in when we decided that we needed it. Well, now's the time. My list I have is not a Christmas wish list. It is needs that align with our CIP and our master plan that we've paid to have done. With this new position, with the growing workload that we have increased customer base, we have billing volumes are up, and it's kind of stretching our administrative resources. You know, it sometimes causes delays in the processing, billing, and account adjustments. It also will help with our accuracy and our compliance with auditing the customer accounts, and that's critical to ensure billing is correct. And we detect those errors early, and we have less complaints that way. It also improves our customer service. It'll give us an opportunity to have more hands available to help with those issues that may come up. And it also helps with our operational efficiency. You know, as I mentioned, the audits. We have a quarterly billing that goes out, and after the billing happens, we have quite a few pages of people that haven't paid, and so we need to contact them. And it's important to catch them early so they don't end up in arrears and end up with a bunch of late fees. But as also part of this.
Is that electronically?
Yeah, there's electronic. There, with the switch to Tyler, we've had some issues. People haven't understood the migration with all the information that we've given them out there, and they haven't always set up an account. So, you know, and so we need help with that. And this position will be primarily responsible for the auditing and not only the accounts, but the cans that we have, because as you've probably experienced, when the wind event happens, you lose your can. If you don't write your number down, you don't know what can is yours. And so you may end up with 3 cans, and you keep those 3 cans. And you call me and you get another can, we don't know what happened, we don't know where it went. So now somebody's had 3 cans, so we need to audit that. And if they've had 3 cans for the last year, they should have been paying for a 3rd can. So some of that, it will help with some of those issues that we have. It's definitely not perfect, but we do our best to capture all those. But with our project that we want next year, with the new scale and the scale office, we're gonna have an extra window to manage because we're gonna have an in and an out scale. So we're gonna need 2 people to manage those as well during the day. So you can go to the next slide, Andy, for the projects. Okay, so currently we are on track with our projects, with our capital improvement infrastructure, and that we need to carry over our water line with our water tank project. The building we just purchased is part of that, and so this aligns with everything that we're doing, and it's gonna carry over into next year. The building won't be ready until probably February. We've just paid our 25% down on that. And so that is one of the things that we're gonna carry over to next year, and that money's been put into the capital improvement budget line item to fund that. So that'll be just something that we carry over from this year to next year. I think it's around $541,000 to manage that. With our road project, we were actually under budget, so that helps us with the carryover. Off the top of my head, it was about $127,000 difference between the low bid and the next bid to get the road project done. So we're in good shape that way. We have a new build for the new scale office and installed 2 new scales at $1.3 million. We've applied for a Swiffer grant, but until the federal government decides to figure out what they're gonna do, we have no idea where we're at on that. So we need to make sure we fund that out of our fund balance so that we can get this project on track. We don't want to push it off any farther because construction costs change every year. And we need to implement this so we can make our adjustments to our fee schedule so we can shore that up, so we can be competitive and consistent with all the other landfill operators that we are being compared to, because they go by tonnage and we're by yardage. We have in
Wayne,
there.
just a question on that. So if we fund it from your fund balance, from your reserves, and even though we don't, we hold up, can we put that money in there to get it going and not depend on the federal government? And if we do get the loan, can we replace that money?
Well, it's a grant, and so we'll put the money in as a grant that we hope to get. I think we put it in there as a grant. If we don't get it, we'll take it out, then we'll have to take out of the fund balance, but it's one of those projects we need to do. But we'll leave it in there until we find out. We should find out once they we were supposed to find out in September, but we can wait a couple months to see if we can get $1.3 million, but we've got to get started pretty soon.
Yeah, we did add a line in there for the grant and funded it in that grant, and so we can do that and make that swap, but I just don't want to push it off. Here's the problem. For far too long, there weren't improvements made at the landfill, and there improvements that I'm doing now probably should have been done 10, 15 years ago, you know, and we need to make them happen because we service everybody in the county. We provide it to quite a few people, you know, and so we're important, you know, when it comes to the countywide services. We have in there as well some new asphalt and a new gate at the facility. I'd like to get a new gate that is electronic so that we can have some more security and have a little better security who comes in and out of there. We need to put some asphalt down so that will help with the mud and everything that goes on the scales and the aesthetics, make it look a little better. Just because it's a landfill, we don't need to make it look like a landfill. Then we have gates and a fence out in Ibapaw at the landfill out there. We need to fence in our property out there to come in compliance with some issues that the DEQ has with that landfill out there. I made a trip out there yesterday with our consultant, and we was looking at some things, and we need to do some education with the people out there. We put up new signage, and we've done Facebook posts. We've been in contact with the BIA, those who manage their Facebook pages, to kind of help them, bless you, to understand what goes where and why. And so there's a learning curve there. So there's some things we need to do so that we don't get in trouble with the DEQ. New equipment, the new man lift, that is going to be a big help to us. We've tried to limp along the lift that facilities has. I've paid money to have it fixed, and it's still, it's no good. We use it to service our trailers, the tarps. Every time we have a garage door problem, we use it to work on those. Every time I have to have somebody come out and do it, they give me a price of $2,000 to $3,000 for a lift in the bid. And we have 8 doors on the transfer station itself that we have to maintain. We've implemented a 6-month maintenance plan on those, and we have a door company that does that. And we need to save money. It helps us with that, but it also helps. The lights are 45 feet in the air, and so when they have to be serviced, the electrician needs to be able to get up there to service those as well. The front end loader.
Can't get a ladder that tall?
Well, I thought about stilts with springs, but he'd have to have a little hang time to get it done. The purchase of the front end loader really should happen now because the one I'm replacing, we're gonna have to park because it's just about dead. I just got a price to replace the injectors on it for $21,000, and I do not want to spend that money on there where we're gonna trade it in. So with these 2 items here, if we can get them in the budget and sign the buyer's orders now, we can have them ordered now, and I can get them earlier in the year. All the buyer's order is a promise that we're gonna purchase them. So that's, I've talked to Andy about that, and it will also give us the opportunity to potentially avoid any tariff that might happen. There's been talk of about a 20% tariff on the front end loader, which would add about $40,000 to it. So I'm trying to move against that and do the best that we can, spending the least amount of money we can and meeting our needs. Overall for the budget, if you go to the next one, Andy. Our water storage and infrastructure, the completion of that, it's vital for our fire protection, our dust control, and facility sustainability. The equipment purchases, they They ensure our continued operational reliability to provide the services that we offer to the cities and everybody else in the county. The scales and the scale office, they will give us an opportunity to make our fee structure to where it works. I've had several people call me and ask me what I would charge them to bring different things in, and they say, we do not want to pay a yardage price, we want to do a tonnage price. And I tell them, we can do that, you're just gonna have to round trip through the scale when you come in, and they've even had a hard time with that. They're like, it'd be so much nicer if we could just pull in, go dump our load, and pull out. Now, the other thing with this is, it'll give us an opportunity to catch those that dump things in the landfill that don't belong. We've had several instances where people have hidden tires, refrigerators, so when they come back through the scale, the operator can call down and say, hey, this truck here, they had some railroad ties. We cannot have railroad ties. We can ask them, send them back, and then go pick them back up. So it'll give us an opportunity to capture things like that. That's all I've got.
Questions, excuse me, questions or comments? You said you had one.
I said, good job.
I have one. Can I just mention one thing? So Wayne and I, we talked just this last week, actually. One of the things that we want to look at going forward is we have a contract with Republic for the trash pickup, and I think it expires early '27 or something.
Yep.
And so we'll be canceling that contract and going out to our RFP. One of the things we like to do is see if we can work with the other communities and try to line up our contracts. And so we can go out to bid with multiple jurisdictions at the same time and get some economies of scale. And so that will take some years, but we thought, let's have the discussion with some of the other cities to see if they'd like to align our contracts. So we go out and we could possibly get some savings there. So that's something that we'll kind of be considering looking at kind of going forward.
Yes, for sure.
Well, that makes sense to put them all together, then you have a better bidding on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion items? If not, let's see, it is 7:13. Like to adjourn and come back, adjourn and then start our council meeting at 7:23. Looking for a motion. Second. A motion, second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those may oppose, say nay.